Hi, welcome to the Peaceful Wood Turner. This is a piece of that street tree that I've worked on before. It's got some discoloration on it because of the moisture outside, but it should be basically pretty dry on the inside. It's hard for you to see here, but I've actually marked kind of a circle of where I need to cut off so this will fit properly on the lathe. And I'm also going to have to flatten the other side, take off pieces like this. But I wanted to show you what it looked like beforehand. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do some chainsaw work, cut this down, and get it flat, and then we'll get it on the lathe. As always, it's found wood. Be very careful with found wood. Wear all your safety equipment, and go over it really carefully. You never know what's going to be inside it. And let's get cutting. Alright, it's cut down. As you can see, it's nice and dry on the inside. That was just some morning moisture. So I'm going to do my best to find a center now, and I'm just going to use my center finder and kind of make a whole bunch of lines and try to connect them and see how close I can come. My goal is eventually going to be to try to have it as balanced as possible, as well as centered. And you will see how much I fail at that by how much vibration you end up seeing. Alright. So it looks like we're going right about there. I'm just going to gently set this because I'm going to be moving it, especially as I get things set up. Okay, I found pretty close to center. As you can see, I've got a good spin going here, so I'm pretty confident with this. What I'm going to start off with, I'm actually do this as a between centers turning. I was going to do it as a faceplate, but what I want to do is cut this down a little bit, get it flatter in relation to this, get it more perpendicular, and then I'll reset it. Alright, I got everything set up. I'm going to start off with my roughing gouge. Remember, safety, make sure you have your dust collection. This piece is actually probably about the top end that my lathe can even come close to handling, so don't aim this big on the small of the lathe if you don't have to. I don't have to, you know, be careful. I'm going to start off my roughing gouge, and I'm going to go as slow a speed I can to begin with, just to start getting this down a little bit more balanced and rounded. funny how it vibrates at certain speeds. Bottom's much flatter now, so I'll be able to put my faceplate on, and then I can keep going. So I'm keeping the center in there to get everything lined up properly. And I'm avoiding this slightly soft spot over here, because in my experience, slightly soft becomes incredibly soft. Good. That's centered as it needs to be. So, top these off to take the spur drive out. all set. All right, we'll get it back on the lathe. Back on, as you can see, in some places we're close to round, but in other places we're very far from it. And this looks nice and smooth here, and then we have this big cut right here. So I'm going to do a lot more work getting this rounded down and slowly moving my way up. And I'm going to work with the roughing gouge and the spindle gouge kind of back and forth. Still going slow. So this stuff is going to eventually give way, which will be interesting as long as I'm careful about it, because it's really, really soft. I should be able to cut a lot of it out without losing much, because it's not holding anything together. And if I can keep things otherwise good, it's going to be really cool looking. It's got lots of interesting grain. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to straighten out the end a bit, face, and start working on actually getting my closer to final shape. It's been about 2 weeks since I've been able to work in my shop. So I tore out a lot of the soft stuff that was just really, really soft and wasn't going to do very well at all. And I put in some wood hardener, and then I also filled some of the gaps with adhesive and wood chips just to help it hold together while I'm turning it. This stuff's all going to pretty much go away, which will be great. I want to have those openings and I want to have those rough spots, but I want it to hold together while I'm working on it. So I have it back on here on the faceplate. Got my live center going just to keep it all safe and solid. I'm going to sharpen up my tools and get back to work. you missed a bit, just out of necessity. The faceplate really wasn't holding well enough to be stable and be safe. So I cut off a bit, got it mounted in the chuck now with a pretty solid tenon. So I think I should be good. My glued in pieces have decided they're no longer going to be stabilizing anything for me, which is fine. I'm hoping to get something out of this, and if you're watching, that means I did. So I'm going to take this down a little bit more to get it back to round again for this positioning. And once I do that, I'm going to keep on hollowing out this inside. Alright, this is going to be a little tricky. This wood here cuts really nicely. This wood, not so much. I think you can probably hear my cat yelling in the background. He's a weird guy. Anyway, this wood cuts nicely. This wood obviously not so much. The whole thing ends up being a little off balance because this side is far heavier than this area with nothing. So I can't go very fast. I'm only going somewhere around 900 RPM. And I'm just going to cut as carefully as I can and try to leave this center column as long as I can, just to give some extra stability. So this is not very deep, but I think it's incredibly cool looking right now, and I'm really getting worried that I'm going to get into stuff that's way too soft down here. So I'm going to try to just smooth out the bottom. You saw me fight with this. And please, my technique is not what it needs to be. Don't do things the way I do it. So, I'm just going to smooth this out down on the bottom here. I'm going to finish off the sides a little bit. And then I'm going to figure out exactly where I'm going to part it off, mark that, do my finishing and stuff, and then cut it off. I wonder if I can go any faster now. I think that's how I want it. I chiseled off the really soft stuff. I think right about in here is where I'm going to end up parting it off. So I'm going to mark that. And break my pencil at the same time. Alright, that's a pretty good mark. I can see that really well. So I'm going to just take my parting tool and mark it in a little bit deeper. And take some of this stuff down just so that I know exactly where my base is. That's way smoother than I thought I'd get with the spindle gouge, but I'm happy with it. I wonder, should I leave this like a base? Oh no. I'm going to sand this now. I'm not going to show you all of that because that just gets really boring really fast. But I'm going to sand it down, and then I might apply some more hardener, and then we'll get a finish on it. Part it off. I have wood hardener on it now. I'll let that sit for a while and then I'll be able to do some more sanding. All of the soft stuff is pretty much gone. It's just real porous, but I chiseled everything out and sanded stuff out, and this is looking pretty cool.